I look around and I see so many people just ready and willing to accept the explanation that we've gotten about these drones at face value. It's almost as if these people don't realize how we got to where we're at in this story right now. I understand I trust the current administration way more than I trust the last administration. But we can't sit here and pretend like, the government's all of a sudden going to tell us the full truth about things just because a different person is in office. That's not how this stuff works, unfortunately. Will we get more transparency about things? Yes, it's already happening. Them talking about the drones at all, that's more transparency than what we've gotten. But this is not full transparency. They aren't being fully truthful about these drones. The only thing that we can gather from the explanation that was given is that the U.S. is behind these drones. Now, I've told you all for months that if we ever found that out, that I would find that more concerning than if this was the enemy behind these drones. Because if this was an enemy government, if this was an enemy military, we would know what the motive is. You're using these drones to spy on our military bases. We get it. Explanations kind of cut and dry. It's not a good thing, but at the very least, we know what's going on here. Now that we know that America is most likely behind these drones, why are y'all taking an interest, when it comes to these military bases? Now, people would think that the logical explanation would be, because the military is behind the drones. But it doesn't look like that's the case. Because you have to remember, like I said, folks, you got to remember how we got here. We've had multiple military bases, Air Force bases, you name it, that have put out statements about the drones, saying that they did not know what the drones were, saying that they had to shut down operations, shut down flights, and things of that nature because of the drones, right? So we know that most of these military bases where the drones are floating over, the military's not launching these things. They're not behind the drones. Okay? And then you got the FAA. They claim that, now all of a sudden these drones were, the FAA approved the drones, everything's okay. But the FAA, literally a couple of weeks ago, people seem to have forgotten, the FAA was saying they didn't know what was going on, and they have the authorization to use force and shoot the drones down. So just a couple of weeks ago, the FAA was talking tough, like they may shoot the drones down. And now they're saying, the FAA knew, the FAA approved all of this. So regardless of what you believe is going on here, it's not okay to allow these agencies to get away with lying in people's faces, lying to the American public. But I'll be honest, I don't even know if they lied. And that's the scary part. But I'll get into that in just a moment. I want to go ahead and roll this clip. Let's listen to some of the local mayors who aren't happy with this explanation. Let's hear what they have to say. Then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Yeah, listen, point blank, Homeland Security said it's not us. The federal government told us point blank, these are not federal operations. Those two things were told to us point blank in a mayor's only briefing here in New Jersey, whereby our state of New Jersey, our own governor, couldn't get answers from the then Biden administration. Come on, the Biden administration couldn't tell our governor, wink, wink, these are us, we're doing research, these are our drones. Come on. We're not accepting this anymore. And then we were on a mayor's only White House briefing where we were told, you're seeing things. There's nothing to see out there. We don't have not one credible threat of a report in the sky. Then the very next day, they actually convened a House Intelligence Committee, had a classified briefing that lasted 3.5 hours. Well, what did they talk about for 3.5 hours if, one, there's nothing to see here, or two, if our AAA is saying, oh yeah, by the way, what, they forgot to tell us that those were our drones, that they have clearance and they have licenses to fly? The FAA was telling us here in New Jersey when they issued a ban in 26 different municipalities, which was then extended. By the way, it's no longer active, but they were telling us if they see a drone in the sky, they may take lethal action. Come on, why didn't they just tell us from the very beginning that it was theirs? I'm not buying it. I'm still waiting for that disclosure. I mean, sadly, I've been waiting for about 8 days. I didn't expect much from the Biden administration. I do still hold out faith and hope that we will hear something better from the Trump administration. He's been all over this topic. He's been quoted multiple times, even going on the record as to say, oh, the government knows who they are, the president knows who they are. Now, 8, 9 days into his administration, we're being told. I mean, really, it actually sounds like a cover story to cover the fact they didn't have a cover story.
Now, a lot of people are looking at this and they're saying, oh, it's easy, open and shut case. The FAA was lying the whole time. Everyone was lying the whole time. They always knew what this stuff was. And yeah, it's easy to look at things that way, and I'm not telling you that that is not the case. But also look at everything that happened, everything that transpired. I mean, the FAA went kind of hard to cover up this lie. All of these military bases that spoke out, all of these sheriff departments that spoke out, the FBI agents, you name it, all of these politicians, everyone who spoke out, they just didn't have to. They didn't have to acknowledge this just because, oh, you're capturing videos of drones in the sky. They never had to acknowledge this stuff if they didn't want to. But they did acknowledge it. And there were things like solutions, so-called, being put in place, like the drone tracking technology. You had literal drone tracking teams where, law enforcement was going out with their own drones tracking these things. We got the Coast Guard. The freaking Coast Guard was out here trying to find the drones, and at one point, one of their Coast Guard boats was tailed and followed by the drones. So these are all details that we cannot forget about. We cannot forget everything the FAA said up until this point. So it's easy to look at it like, yeah, everyone was just lying, and maybe that's possible. But I think that maybe all of these people were telling the truth. I think, judging by some of the actions that were taken, that it looks like the FAA, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, it looks like these different agencies might have been telling the truth at first about not knowing what was going on with these drones. Now, obviously, now things have changed. Because the story got too big, Trump came in office, Trump said, oh, I'm going to tell people what's going on with the drones. So maybe now they fed the FAA some BS, they fed the FBI some BS. You know what I mean? They gave them, hey, listen, shh, basically. FAA, we know y'all didn't know about the drones. Guess what? It's us. Don't worry. Shh, just say it's approved, right? That's kind of what's going on here, if you ask me. I don't think the FAA knew what was going on with these drones back in December when they started placing, bans over certain areas of New Jersey and claimed they didn't know what was going on. I think that they have been clued in or keyed in on a little bit of what's going on now so they can come out and be like, oh, it's all FAA approved, blah, 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 blah. I think that just now they kind of been updated, maybe not on the truth, but updated like, hey, it's us, don't worry. Now, as I was saying, if this is the U.S., it's more concerning than this being a foreign superpower, because if this is a foreign enemy, we know what they're here for. If this is the U.S., we don't know what they're here for. Because if you're doing research on these drones for the military, for defense purposes, then the military should know about the drones. The Department of Homeland Security should know about these drones. So if whatever research is being conducted is research that would help you in war, that will help the U.S. military fight our enemies abroad, or if it's research that would help the U.S. military defend our country, then you would think that the U.S. military and these military bases where the drones are flying over, you think that they would know about it, right? But they don't. And we know they don't. So, you're looking at the research, you're like, okay, if this is research for our military to be used against enemies, then okay, that makes sense. But wait, the military doesn't know about the research. The military doesn't know about the drones. So whatever research is being done, it's most likely not research for our military, at least not to be used on foreign enemies. So could the research have something to do with the American people? Because if anyone's researching on the drones, it should be the military, yet the military has no idea what's going on. So are these drones going to be used on the American people? That's the question that should be on every single person's mind right now. Because whatever this top secret research is, it's so top secret that no one that is tasked with defending the American people could be in on it. The FBI didn't know. Local law enforcement didn't know. Department of Homeland Security didn't know. Coast Guard. You know what I'm saying here? So I would think that if this is like, oh, we got to do this research so just in case we go to war over here, or, you know what I mean? But it doesn't look like that's the case. So now I'm more concerned and I have more questions than I originally did. And that's not good, because the explanation we were given was supposed to put the story to rest, but instead it reinvigorated the story. And every single person who has looked into this story should be questioning, why was this story allowed to drag out for so long? If the FAA was aware, and this was just testing, this was just research, they could have said that from day one. Instead, this situation dragged out. The military got dragged in. The Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, local law enforcement, people from around America, everyone got dragged into this story. Just for them to months later, after causing mass hysteria, just to say, oh, wait, they were FAA approved and everything's okay. Nah. Sorry, that might work for you. It will never work for me. And I'm not going to allow this to work for people who watch my channel, because I owe them more than that. Okay, I respect you all who are watching this video. I respect you all more than to just pretend like this is a good explanation and a good answer. We could just move along to the next story. I respect y'all more than that, because that's not true. That's not the case. We're definitely still dealing with something weird here, and we'll probably never get the answers. We just know that the answer we've been given so far isn't the full truth. But for now, you let me know what you think down below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.